the backstage at Gelb Studios here. I got to tell you something. Sitting here with me is one of my idols, one of my favorite guitar players. We don't want to go back how far that is now, right now, do we? And I'm just honored to have you at the store and coming down to do a clinic here tonight.
Kevin, thank you so much.
And he's going to be out front in a little bit, and if you missed it, it's you are a bad person. So, anyway, we want to just... Buzzy, I know you're very passionate about these guitars, as I am, and it's so interesting how this thing came about. So why don't you tell our customers a little bit about what's going on here?
Well, you know, this kind of, as we were discussing earlier, these guitars evolved. They didn't start out on a drawing board or as some completed vision in my head. Originally I started out playing tellies and started doing modifications on my own tellies and for other people because I kept running into the same obstacles that a lot of players do, you know, with the traditional guitars. For instance, a radius that wouldn't allow me to bend strings without choking off, very small, kind of uncomfortable necks, noisy pickups, you know, a neck that was so narrow that whenever I'd solo above the 12th fret, I'd constantly pull high E off the rails, and just stuff like that. So one by one, I started to kind of address these issues by implementing improvements that I thought would make it better, just for me.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for the public, but just for me. And starting, of course, with the tuning system, which, you know, some people are aware of, which, you know, kind of corrects those inconsistencies between chord shapes, so that all the chord shapes kind of sound holistically pleasant to the ear. And as I mentioned, I didn't start out trying to invent the Buzz Feiten tuning system. It was just I just wanted to get my guitars in tune, you know. So it led me down this path. I have a very kind of I guess a scientific side or curious, you know, technically curious side to try to understand why things work the way they do and how they can be improved.
Right.
So I started out with you know, improving tellies and kind of implementing these different features that we've been talking about. One of which being a little wider neck pocket that you know, keeps you from falling off the rails when you're soloing up there. A little beefier neck, kind of like the old 50s tellies, you know, that you know, we all know and love. We do, however, offer two neck sizes on our guitars to accommodate those people that are, you know, kind of comfortable with more modern neck shapes.
Yes.
6100 frets. The older I get, the strings get lighter and the frets get bigger. You know, but that's seriously a lot of the more experienced players like the bigger frets because you can kind of crank more tone out of the guitar.
Dig in on them.
Yeah, and it makes sense because from a physics standpoint, there's more more contact area on the fingerboard with a bigger fret. So you know, we use machine bone nuts on all our guitars, and I designed the string spacing. I used a special bridge on our guitars that is slightly wider string spacing than the 2 1/8 that's kind of standard. I use a top load bridge. The guitars are not, you can see there's no string through on these guitars, and that's another thing that I was constantly coming up against with you know, traditional tellies, was that the string tension was just really too stiff. They always felt stiff no matter what I did. So I started using a top load bridge, and I just instantly, the guitars just felt buttery and more bottom end response. You could bend the strings way better, and also intonations was more stable. The tuning seemed to stay more stable. So then I started experimenting. You know, I love the Telecaster sound, but it is a kind of a one-trick pony. You know, and I needed more tricks as a professional guitarist. I needed to have more sounds available than just, you know, a Telecaster bridge sound. So I just started off by designing my own pickups, and I do something very different with the humbucking, because I went on a mission to try to find a way to get two sounds out of one bridge pickup, both of which were hum canceling.
Right.
So rather than, there's a mini toggle switch, we call it a rhythm lead switch, but it's actually a series parallel switch instead of a series split coil switch, which is more typical. That's usually what you find. But on these guitars, it's true parallel, which means that the bridge pickup stays hum canceling. Right. So the other thing I did is I flipped the pickup around so that the pole pieces are directly over the harmonic. That gives that pickup that really nice sparkle and tone.
And with your spacing, the strings actually go over the pole pieces.
Yes, they actually go. They actually do end up over the pole
where
pieces.
they're supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, you can't. I don't know if you audience can see it, but the pickups are angled with an angled pickup ring, so that the pickup is actually sticking like this on the guitar, which puts the screws closer to the strings than the rear coil.
That's right.
Now, what that does is it gives the guitar an airiness and transparency that you usually only find on single coils.
Not as muddy as having both coils right up under the strings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, couldn't be happier with that. We've gotten more rave reviews about this particular feature than almost anything else about the guitar, because players are saying, "Oh my God, finally, I don't have to schlep my tail and my other guitar."
Yeah, this pickup becomes more prominent.
Oh, absolutely, and because in the parallel setting, it's great for those, rhythm parts where you want a little more transparency, a little more snap.
Yeah.
But then when you want to dig in and get that kind of throaty, mid-rangey, beefy humbucking sound, you have that available.
Absolutely, yeah.
And there's a little circuit, a little passive circuit, no batteries, that evens out the high-end content between the parallel setting and the series setting, so that the high-end content stays the same no matter what pickup position you're in on the guitar. Neck pickup, same story. Hum canceling. It's a stack design, but the guys that make my pickups, we worked long and hard to get a pickup that was warm, sounds like a single coil, but without the noise.
And you do different top woods on the models. You do make a T Pro, which has a classic Tele single coil back.
Correct.
But
it's
in the
not
other
a single coil.
But that I'm stacked. Sorry.
Right.
But in the other models, you're changing the top wood. To change
Absolutely. We have 5 models. We have 4 different top woods. We on the T Pros we use spruce. On the Classic Pro we use sugar pine. Even though if there's paint over it, you can't see it.
Right.
There's a top wood on them.
Yeah.
And all the guitars have an alder core.
Right.
Alder, in my opinion, is just the most. It's got the best low end and low mid range frequency response.
Warm.
Very tight sounding on the bottom end. It's not spread out. And if you are careful about selecting good light pieces, you get guitars that just have the musicality that it's hard to describe.
Yeah.
So anyway, I realized that you could really shape the tone of these instruments by using a thin, like 3/16 inch top wood on them. And we use sugar pine, spruce, swamp ash on the Elite Pro, because swamp ash is another one of my favorite woods. It's just the top end on swamp ash is just gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's real sweet, kind of singing.
3/16 is just right.
Right. It's quarters too much. Eighth is not enough.
Yeah.
So every single feature on the guitar, all the switch placement, all of the ergonomics of the guitar, the balance, the neck shape, the neck dimensions. They all came from 40 plus years of doing this, both on the stage and in the studio, where I just need an instrument that works.
Yeah.
And I needed something that works, that wasn't constantly going to be fighting me in one way or another, either by being too noisy or out of tune or some other, objectionable part of the
It's the
experience.
reverse process. Normally people build a guitar and give it to the pros and they say what to change.
Yeah.
This came from working it on stage.
Yeah.
And all your, the amount of records you've been on is so amazing. It came from that way into this pure
exactly.
place.
And I realize that I don't think that I'm very different than a lot of players. I consider myself kind of typical as far as,
You're a little more than typical.
Well, no, but I think I really, when I pick up a guitar to play it, I'm not thinking about the technical part at all. I have a split brain. If I pick up a guitar, I'm just like anybody else, man. I pick it up and the damn thing's either out of tune or something's wrong with it. So I'm very sensitive, and I'm my first impression is the one that I go with. I mean, a funny story. Paul Barrere is one of our endorsees, and he I had laid out like 6 guitars on stands, expecting him to go through some detailed kind of analysis of each evaluation for each guitar. He went like this. Picked up the guitar, put it down, picked up the next one, put it down, went through all 6, picked them up, put it down, went back to the second one and said, "This is the one." And that was how he evaluated it. He picked it up, "Yeah, I like that one." And some people are, it speaks to you. Like we met with a guy named Tom Monrath, who has a business called Vintage King Audio, and they deal like high-end Neumann mics and all these, exotic but very pricey kind of gear. And they're tweakers. They're just really tweakers. They're they know all the cool old Neve consoles and cool old tube mics and all this stuff and pedals and amps and all that. So they're starting to get into the guitar thing. And one of the things that Tom mentioned, he saw my T-Pro and he picked it up and he said, "Oh my God, that's the thing. That's the guitar." He didn't even play a note on it. He just picked it up and he felt the vibe of it, And people that spend a lot of time around instruments like yourself, like when you pick up a good one, you don't even have to play it.
It's acoustically talking.
Yeah, it's just talking to you. Yeah. It's just got this, aura. So I try to do that with Buzz Feiten guitars by design. I try to give these guitars that mojo by using every bit of experience and every bit of intuition and intuitive knowledge that I have, because I do all the setup and all the final assembly on the guitars.
Definitely.
So I try to bring everything I possibly can so that the person that first experiences the guitar experiences a guitar that feels mature. They feel that it's mature. It's gone through. It's not a fresh, new guitar. It feels like it's been played because it has.
Speaking of fresh and new.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this.
No,
Didn't mean to interrupt you. But,
no, please. Let me tell you about this.
He's already showed up with something new for us.
Well,
so what have you got here?
One of the things that, by the way, just for you fans out there, this happens to be Dean Parks' guitar. Just so for those of you who know who Dean Parks is, and Dean was very graciously let me borrow it, for this event. I designed my own bridge saddles. I wanted a brass saddle, kind of similar to the old Telly 3-barrel, but 6 individuals, so you could have individual control over the intonation. And I wanted something that was a little higher mass than our stock saddle, and also something that would allow you to rest your hand on the bridge like that. So I'm just delighted with them. Everybody seems to be very, very happy with the new bridge saddles. So they're going to be, they will be standard equipment on all Buzz Feiten guitars.
You don't have those little screws ripping you apart. It's really beautifully done.
Yeah.
You can tell a player had something to do with that bridge.
Yeah, they're machine brass, and we go to the trouble of installing 3 different height adjustment screws so that so you don't get those sharp screws sticking you in the hand. But the difference in tone is really kind of noticeable. Brass has a certain musicality. And just in physics, there's higher mass. The higher mass of the saddle transmits more tone to the bass plate, which in turn transmits more tone to the guitar.
I'm Jack. We're going to go hear it now. We're going to go listen to this man do some ripping. So I hope you're here tonight. But if not, come down to the store. All the models are in stock. Be happy to let you hear them yourself.